Welcome again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast, brought to you by our friends, in part by Celebrate, your permanent holiday lighting solutions, and your 5 locations of Midas, Ottawa, and Harding, your home comfort center. New partner joining the
Nice
program,
one.
joining the
Nice
front.
one.
Yeah, I'm Steve Warren, editor of the Ottawa Senators site for the Hockey News, enjoying the heat of the Senators' hot stove. It looks like I'm in a skate shack right now with my plaid shirts and all the wood in the background and the Sens hot stove there. And of course, I'm joined once again by the coach, Greg Kennedy, owner of the legendary hockey book Wonderwall. Greg, how are things?
Very good, Steven. Very good. Yeah, I was thinking it was more like a ice fishing hut when I see
Yes,
all the
right.
wood back there. But yes, and happy belated 110th birthday to the chairman of the board, old Blue Eyes, who was 110 yesterday.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. I don't mind a little Sinatra now and then. I was also talking a little bit this week about one of your other favorites, and that'd be Elvis Presley
Oh,
with
baby.
Elvis Merzlikins chased from the game the other night. I couldn't help a classic. Elvis has left the building when the Sens
Yeah.
knocked him out of that game. Anyways, let's get at it. We're coming at you since the last time we got together. Sens have played a couple of games. It was a nice 6-3 win in Columbus, tidy. And then on Saturday afternoon, oh man, they for sure, I think, let a point get away. They were in Fritterville, frittering away a point in the dying seconds. It was, I'm always messing up his name, Joel Eriksson Ek, where Sens fans were saying ick as he buried a one-timer from a bad angle at the end as the Sens had a meltdown. I don't know if that's a deer in the headlights panic thing, but so many things went wrong on that game-winning goal, and it was a shame. The Senators had come back from a 2-0 deficit to tie the game, but they fall in the final minute 3-2 to the Minnesota Wild. Any initial thoughts on the game as it's probably a couple hours in our rearview mirror now.
Well, my initial thoughts are as they've always been. They're letting points get away. Lack of 5-on-5 scoring, a rather questionable defensive positioning decision made by Artem Zub this time on the winning goal. But just another chance. Bank points, bank points. How many times do I keep saying it? You got to bank points when you can. And they failed to bank points and failed to score 5-on-5, and that's what happens yet again.
And this is a Wild team that's off to a good start. Now they are third place in a very, very difficult division behind the
Mhm.
Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. So they're hoping this Quinn Hughes deal they made on Friday will help out. And we'll talk more about that, our thoughts on the deal in just a little bit later in the show. But when you think about the state of mind in the state of
Mhm.
hockey, um, their heads must have been spinning a little bit. There's guys going out the door, so you lose their talent. Well, first the social angle, you lose your friends.
Mhm.
Your friends going out the door, that's always going to pull the rug out from under you to some degree. The caliber of players, like Rossi is a very good forward, although he's injured right now. But you've also got Zeeb William. He's a very good player. And so, the caliber goes out the door. And so they're a lesser team. And Quinn Hughes should be there, but he wasn't there in time in that they announced fairly shortly after the trade that he was going to play not until Sunday against the Boston Bruins. So, really, when you think about all those factors, the Minnesota Wild will never be more ripe for the picking, and the Sens
Exactly.
couldn't even get that point.
Yeah, right for the picking was exactly what I was thinking, Steve. Here was an opportunity. Before the trip started, you look and you see Minnesota, and you think, okay, that's going to be a tough. It's going to be a tough 60 minutes. That's going to be tough to win that game. And then you think, okay, you got all these things sort of colliding to help you out, and you got a team in a. I mean, they're not disorganized, but they're in a bit of a disarray, emotionally speaking, especially. I'm sure some of the guys were a little emotionally distracted, and you think, all right, here's a game you can win, and then you come out, despite a strong first period, you don't score and you fall behind 2-0. And it's just, it gets so frustrating to watch them play so well for such long stretches, but just can't seem to bury. They just can't seem to finish often enough. They don't get the timely goals. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm at my wits' end. 5-on-5 scoring that we knew was a problem coming into this year. It started out at the start of the year. Okay, maybe they are okay with it now. They're doing better. But all the stats say that they should be scoring way more goals than they do at 5-on-5, and yet they still can't find a way to bury. and it's frustrating, very frustrating.
Two moments in particular come to mind on that front in the first period where you had Dylan Cousins set up. I think it was Drake Batherson who set him up right in front for a one-timer. Let's just as point blank as it gets. And it looked like he had all the room in the world upstairs, but it kind of goes off of Jesper Wallstedt's shoulder and over the glass. And then you had another one with Fabian Zetterlund kind of toe dragging.
Yeah.
All he had to do was get it upstairs, and he kind of healed that one. And so I thought they outplayed them in the early going, a really good first period, a road period, but they just didn't. We've seen that in recent outings as well. When they were losing 5 of 6, there were some games in there as well where they get out to a great start, but they don't get rewarded for it because they're not burying their chances and letting teams hang around. So yeah, it was a kind of a frustrating one, but they did get back in the game. I don't
Mhm.
want to be a hypocrite because I hate the rule. I do not like this slashing a stick. The guy drops the stick, pretty much an automatic penalty. And the Sens did benefit from two of those. If not for those, then maybe they don't get any goals in this one.
Yeah, it's
One
true.
of them, the first one sets up a 5-on-3, and they, after passing passively on the perimeter for what seemed like for the entirety of it, just after the first penalty expires, Tim Stützle swats one in, and then later somehow Kirill Kaprizov gets another slashing the stick out of a guy's hands. Jake Sanderson in this case, even though Kaprizov was he was the guy with the puck at that stage of the
Yeah.
game, and then Sanderson drops the stick. They get another penalty, and the Sens bury one in that case as well. Cousins off the post. So the power play did go to work, and they did come back in the game. But then, as we fast forward to the end of the game, you already alluded to a little bit what Artem Zub was up to. A lot of people on social media blaming Tyler Kleven's clearing attempt. What's your coach's view of what happened on the final goal, which was a cross ice pass from Johansson to Eriksson Ek and a one timer from the weirdest of places?
Yeah. Well, at first, when you first watch it, first blush, your thought is, yeah, okay, Clevin, maybe could have got it higher off the glass, or maybe he could have gone the other way around behind the net, or maybe he could have just ragged it somehow, and the clear wasn't the greatest. Okay, that's fine. He threw it up the wall. The two green sweaters waiting there to pick it off. But then you look at it, you slow it down, or you rewind it, watch it again. I'm thinking, where's his partner? Because as you're watching it, you see somebody slowly coming from the bench, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, that the guy went off for a change with 20 seconds left. That's weird. But no, back it up even further, and you see Artem Zub pinch down real deep on the right side in the offensive zone. Okay, fair enough. But then he seems to take forever to get back into the defensive zone, like gliding into the zone, and then finally gets to net front, but then looks like he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. Get your head in a swivel, and he would have seen the guy over there on the far wall, wide open. What is his name? Eck. I keep wanting to call him Oliver Ekman Larson, but
Yeah.
Erickson Eck. No, is that it? He had all kinds of time, Steve. The guy could have knit a sweater after he received the pass. Like, holy smokes, man. He gets the puck and just one times it into a wide open net because there's nobody anywhere near him. I don't think a single guy in a white jersey on the ice knew that Eriksson Ek was even over there. And that's just poor defensive positioning by Zub and poor awareness. Had no head in a swivel, never saw the guy, didn't know anything about it. And that ended up being the killer, obviously, that he takes forever to get back there and then doesn't do anything when he does get back there. Yes, Clevin, bad clear. So what? It still should have been salvageable. They still should have been giving up that goal.
And it sounded like David Perron was encouraging to go up the boards. He
Mhm.
yelling boards. And keep in mind, this is a left shot defenseman who's now on the right side boards, and so his back is to the play, and so he's kind of working in an unfamiliar position. And when a veteran like David Perron is yelling boards at him, he goes boards. Unfortunately, the easy forehand rim was right there, and there was nobody on the other side of the ice whatsoever. The thing for me, Greg, is like the way I would be treating that game if I'm Travis Green, if I have to call a timeout, if I have to, like I'm not going to talk about something to do in the power play. What I'm going to tell them with about 3 minutes left in this game is like, it's a freaking miracle that I shouldn't go that far. It was a fairly even game, but it was a road game, and it felt like when Minnesota was up 2-0, I felt like the Sens weren't coming back today. So they get it to 2-2. And it's not a wins losses league. I think it was Steve Lloyd who said this. It's not like a points gathering league. That's what it is now. And they had a point. They had it tied. And at that stage of the game, I'd almost, if I'm Travis Green, I'd like to tell the guys, hey, listen, you know what? We absolutely need this point. You MFers, you got to treat this like it's the final minutes of, Team USA versus the Soviet Union in 1980. You've got a 1-goal lead, and that's what you do. You are on the right side of the puck every single moment, and pinching with 30 seconds left, as Artem Zub did, like, what? That makes no sense whatsoever to me, but it just tells me that he wasn't in the right headspace. To me, Nolan Baumgartner, your D coach, has got to be in there. You be on the right side of the puck. Don't do anything stupid here. Get this point. It's about getting these points, and you haven't been doing enough of that lately, and that's why you're second last in the Eastern Conference right now. So that was the frustrating part for me, that anybody was thinking anything but defense in those last 3-4 minutes. And I'll even throw Brady Tkachuk and Fabian Zetterlund. In the shift before the winning goal was scored, both Tkachuk and Zetterlund are down, mucking around down below the goal line, below the puck. Get on top of the puck, play defense, get your point, and then take your chances in overtime. I didn't think that it felt to me like there was no communication like that going on.
Yep. And you wanted a timeout for the coach to say, hey, let's settle down and understand what the situation is. I wanted a timeout even earlier than that, Steve. I wanted a timeout. You've got 4.5 minutes left or so in the game. You've got a power play. You put your number one unit out. Halfway through that, instead of having them come off, when there was a whistle, I wanted a timeout then. And I wanted the coach to say, this is it, boys. We're the team that scores in the power play, one of the top ones in the league. We scored two already tonight. Let's get one now, get a good rest, and I would have come back out with the number one unit to finish off that power play. But I think it's a reflection of the points gathering league, the loser point league. It's all right. If I risk it now, do we give up a goal and we lose? Or I don't want to press too hard for this goal now because I can get my point in overtime. It's playing for the loser point. And I think if there's no loser point in a regular NHL game, if there's no such thing as overtime and a point for losing, I think you would have seen Travis Green call a timeout and keep his number one unit on the ice for the rest of that power play. He certainly would have done it if he was down a goal. So, okay, it's a tie game, but because you got that loser point hanging in the balance, you're not all that so interested in getting the W, I think, at that point. And I wanted him to call a timeout then. So either way, I think we both think Travis Green missed opportunities to use a timeout.
One of the other things that I saw on social media after the game was people giving it to Levi Merilainen because of the absolute, what's the word I'm looking for, how drastic a cross-ice pass that was, that he should be getting over faster than that. I think if you freeze frame what he was looking at, Johansson basically catches the Clevin clearing attempt along the boards and then takes a couple of strides toward the middle. If you look at that point, you freeze that image, you've got, at that stage of the game, Zub, who still hasn't decided to pick anybody up. Ridley Gregg really hasn't picked anybody up either, and I think David Perron is in that scrum as well. There are three guys between Johansson and Levi Merilainen, and it's almost like a desperation, right? It's late in the game. We do not want another shot. So these three guys clump together. I think you'll find Merilainen had no idea what was going on, what Johansson was up to. Is he shooting? Is he passing? He probably glanced to his left. Well, I don't see anybody in my peripheral here, but way over on the boards on the right wing, there's Eriksson Ek, and accepts the pass, and really there was no chance whatsoever. Merilainen didn't even come close to it because I don't think he saw what was going on in either case, either what Johansson was going to do, and I bet that Eriksson Ek is so far out of his peripheral vision that he probably didn't have any idea he was there either.
He doesn't know he's there. Johansson does. Like, Johansson knows that Ekman and Eriksson Ek is over there, and he actually freezes Merilainen for a second. He freezes like he's going to shoot, and it's a no-looker, Steve. He's looking right at the goalie as he passes it across the ice. Now, I agree that a good goaltender wouldn't fall for a no-look pass because he's watching the puck. He's not watching the guy's face, but the puck is on the blade perpendicular to the net like he's going to shoot it. And that freezes a goalie for a second. Okay, the shot's coming. He doesn't have time to now look to his left and see if anybody's over there. So no, I'm not faulting the goalie on that one at all. I'm faulting Artem Zub. That plain and simple. He's the only guy on the ice who should have known that our Eriksson Ek was there, and he didn't know he was there, and consequently did nothing about it. So I thought that to me is on Zub.
Yeah, that was all deer in the headlights. It was just lack of awareness to make any kind of pinch in the offensive zone. You got to get that game to overtime, and then just went back. Like the guy didn't take a stride. He didn't look at it. Look at the video. He doesn't take a single stride as he tries to get back into position. It was kind of 2/3 speed. He didn't take a stride once he hit the red line. It was all coasting with straight legs all the way in, and then proceeded to be deer in the headlights. Had no idea that Tyler Clevin had taken his spot, so he just goes do 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 do. I'm going to go play right defense because that's my position in the National Hockey League, and so just stood there covering no one. Anyway, I don't want to bury the guy. He's
Yeah,
done
yeah,
a lot of good things this season, but in the moment of frustration, it was kind of a tough way to lose a hockey game and get nothing out of it. It's one thing if it happens in overtime, but that regulation point was just like flicked away like it didn't matter. Anyways, we move on. Lars Eller is injured, so the Senators are now he had a really good start, Greg, to the
yeah.
season with 6 points in 12 games in October. He's had nada since then. Since the calendar turned to November, not December, November, the guy has 0 points in 16 games, and now he's on the sideline again. And I don't know what have you felt about Lars Eller's game, like when he's poking in the odd point here and there in October, and being his usual defensive self. I was kind of encouraged, but I'm as you know, it won't be long before the Sens have to figure out, okay, we're going to bring this veteran back for another year. I'm not sure where I'm at with Lars Eller right now, particularly with a Stephen Halliday
Right.
able to be used at this point in time. What's your thought on Eller?
Well, the other thing about Eller was before he came here, and I said this in the summer when they first acquired him. This is a guy who rarely misses any time, Steve. Like very few injuries. Look at his games played year over year over year. He's 75 or higher all the time. Very rarely does he get injured. So I'm wondering if the initial injury is still nagging, and that's caused, has he not had two since then? Like he wasn't 100% to start the year,
Yeah.
that he was okay, that he was out for a bit, that he was back, now he's out for a bit. Now this is a block shot, so that's not the same injury, obviously. But that part just concerns me, and that I wonder how much of that is an age thing. I don't know. I liked his play early in the year, just like you just finished alluding to. I really did like his play earlier in the year, and now I'm starting to wonder. And I don't have a problem with Stephen Halliday at all. He's a good young player, and as long as you don't consider it to be a waste of his offensive talents playing him down there, I'm fine with watching him play. I prefer him over McDermott. I prefer him over like Sell. Any of their other guys. I think Halliday's the number one guy. And until Eller's back and healthy and shows me that he can do more, I'm perfectly fine with Stephen Halliday playing there.
So Eller's history since he became a Senator was that abdominal surgery in the offseason that kind of delayed
Right.
his start to the year. He missed most of preseason. And this time it looks he had something. I'm not sure what it was. They just said lower body injury. And then in the game against Columbus, he took a shot somewhere off his leg and was not looking good after. And it looks like it's going to be a while. Travis Green loathed to talk about injuries to his players. And even he was sort of going, it's going to be a little while. Made it sound like it could be something that's a matter of weeks, maybe longer. Don't know. Doesn't sound like a day-to-day thing like he said about Lars Eller's first injury, or if he says anything at all about an injury. But yeah, so Eller's going to be out for a little while. They called up, like you said, Oli Lixell. Is it Lixell or Lixell? I'm not even sure. Do you know?
I don't know.
All right, and and of course they have
He's a little guy.
yeah, they had Curtis McDermott in the lineup,
Okay,
and
there's a question. What did you
7-1-2.
Okay, but what did you think of McDermott playing in the Columbus game? It was almost it was Mike Babcock, Mike Modano kind of thing there, not playing. Stephen Halliday went to Ohio State right there in Columbus. You don't think he had a bit of family and friends there at the game to watch him play, and he's a scratch? Like, did you really need to play McDermott that night? But then again, 7-1 and whatever. We're in a bit of a slide. We better get old Mackie D back in here so we can win a game, and he could play his 4 minutes. I was kind of surprised by that decision. I thought that Halliday was going to play that game for sure. What'd you think?
Well, I didn't even think of that until now.
Uh,
I wonder if it was one of those things where Travis Green didn't know. Like Stephen Halliday's a shy kid. I would be surprised if he marched into Travis Green's office and talked about Ohio State and how I'd like to play. But yeah, if everybody's aware of it, yeah, it's not like you're making a decision between Stephen Halliday and Tim Stutzla here. This is
yeah.
hey, even if you're, Curtis McDermott's dad and you're an assistant coach of the Ottawa Senators, you're still going, yeah, I'm not sure there. Um, but yeah, that would seem like a natural for Halliday to play in that game. Now that you mentioned, I hadn't even thought of it to this point. But
Yeah.
anyway, McDermott, they were 7-1-2 after the Columbus game. They're now 7-2-2. But
Mhm.
I mean, I know that that's partially coincidental, but I also think it affords you, like you've talked about, the opportunity to give guys extra minutes
Right.
because you're obviously not going to put McDermott out there every fourth shift or whatever it is. Um, he's going to play anywhere from, I don't know, 4 to 8 minutes max. And you get an opportunity to stick Drake Batherson out there to double shift on the fourth line. So that's a good thing. And I also do still believe, even in 2025, call me a Neanderthal if you want, but I do believe that players feel more confident when they have a guy on the bench that not only has their back, because every teammate has everybody's back,
Mhm.
but a guy that will, without question, without blinking, jump up onto the ice and maim somebody for you. And I
Maybe.
think yeah, I think that will always inject in, and that will infuse some confidence into pretty much any hockey roster.
And yet it ended up being Ridley Gregg who stepped up.
Yeah.
I loved that. I thought, like, kudos to Ridley Gregg. That earns him one hell of a lot of respect in that room, on that bench, from the coaching staff, from the executive, from everybody, the fans, everyone should understand what really Greg did and why, and give him his due respect. I was surprised that it was not surprised that it was him, because he'd be the only other guy I think who would do something like that. But why didn't McDermott do it? That was the part that threw me. I expected to see McDermott step up and fight Hartman for sure, and it never materialized.
You probably missed it, I guess, but he offered to dance with him a couple of times. I saw it once,
Right.
and the broadcast did say that it happened a couple of times where he just bumps into him and has words with him. But
But make it
Coleman
happen.
wanted. Well, I guess you need to just jump the guy, but I
Something.
think that he's trying to do it in such a way where it's not going to put the Senators down with the
Yeah.
instigator. But there's no way in hell Coleman is going to voluntarily accept such a mismatch. So I think that unless you're going to jump the guy, which would not behoove the Senators and their
No.
chances of winning that hockey game in Minnesota, but I put that more on Coleman in
Hartman.
that. Yeah, sorry, I always get Coleman and Hartman mixed up. Ryan Hartman, and the reason and the backstory on that is the Tim Stützle thing.
Yep.
Hartman got a 10-game suspension last year for driving Stützle's face into the ice, and so after a 10-game suspension, do you still need to pay a piper? That's a pretty big, long suspension, but I guess you do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's more on Hartman for turning down McDermott. So I don't blame McDermott because he doesn't want to put his team down in a situation like that where the guy already has paid a pretty heavy price.
But good on Ridley Gregg.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. All right, let's move on. A couple of things on the non-Senator front. Some big NHL trades
Whoa.
and a big NHL injury that could affect Team Canada at the Olympics in February. We'll talk about all that coming up after these words.
Oh, hey, how's it hanging? This is no time to joke. I could have easily avoided all this, like zero chance. And now I'm literally a human ornament.
So save yourself and never hang lights again. Book a spring install today and receive 10% off. And can somebody help, please?
Our new sponsor, Steve, the Midas, the 5 locations here in Ottawa and one in Gatineau, 4 in Ottawa, 1 in Gatineau, have joined us as a sponsor, and they got a deal on with these Nexen, Nexen tires, a good mid-range tire, I'm told. And these puppies are on buy 3, get 1 free. Like, that's 25% off, Steve. You can't beat that with a stick. If you're suddenly realizing, oh my God, winter's here and you haven't got your tires yet, you might want to hop into one of these 5 minus shops. There's one in Orleans. There's one at Bank Street, just south of Heron there. There's one at Bell's Corners. There's one at Bronson, just north of the Queensway. And of course, Gatineau, as I said. Any one of these spots, get in there, get some tires, buy 3, get 1 free on these Nexans. That's a hell of a deal.
Look, I've played a lot of games. The great ones you'll remember. That's what these lights do. They turn moments into memories. Legendary lighting. Celebrate is the real deal. Permanent lights, year-round style.
Welcome back to the show. Again, the Senators falling by a count of 3-2 to the Minnesota Wild. And as we mentioned, the Wild might have been a distracted bunch, heads a-spinning, as a blockbuster trade was pulled off on Friday evening. It was the Wild acquiring Quinn Hughes. Everybody thought Quinn Hughes might end up in New Jersey with his 2 brothers, but nope. And that, by the way, is where Vancouver is, I think, either tonight or tomorrow. So that could have been one of those deals where a guy just changes dressing rooms in the same rink, but it did not go down that way. It was Minnesota that made the deal, and I'm a little surprised by it, to be honest, for the reason I mentioned earlier. You make a deal like this when you really think you have a chance to win a Stanley Cup, and this is a team that is really going to struggle to get out of its own division because Dallas and Colorado are directly ahead of them in the standings. But the deal is this, and I'll get your take on it, Greg. Minnesota acquires Quinn Hughes for former 67 Marco Rossi, who I think is supposed to be healthy soon, Liam Ogren, Zeev Buium, and a first-rounder in 2026. And we should also have the caveat of Hughes is a free agent, a UFA in a year and a half. What do you think of the deal?
That's a lot to give up for what may only end up being a year and a half, 2 playoff runs of Quinn Hughes. Like that, that's where it's going to really, we should wait till the next summer, or not next summer, the summer after, see where Quinn Hughes signs or if he re-signs in Minnesota before you can really grade the trade, right? I think William will be a very pleasant little piece there in Vancouver. He's a pretty good hockey player and has some offensive flair too. He's no Quinn Hughes, but he can certainly fill those shoes, or good 75% of those shoes, without much trouble. The player that he's going to become. Marco Rossi gives him a top 6 forwards, second line center. Maybe he plays in the first line, but he's definitely, at worst, he's a second line center on that team. And that's really why New Jersey couldn't make it happen. They didn't have a center to give up, or didn't have a center they were willing to give up. That's why New Jersey couldn't make the deal happen, is that Vancouver wanted a center and they wanted a defenseman, and a good defenseman, because they were giving up the best defenseman, and then another prospect and a first rounder. So that's a lot to ask, and it's a lot to get, and it's a lot to give up. I think it's really going to come down to, is Hughes going to re-sign in Minnesota? That was the other thing that sort of affected a lot of teams trading here, was that Hughes made it known, or Vancouver made it known, Hughes made it known through Jim Rutherford to the teams in the league, I'm not signing anything. I'm not signing till the summer of 27. So we got a bit of time to go here. So, make your trade accordingly. But I'm not guaranteeing you that I'm going to sign early. So I think that affected the trade too. But right now, to me, it almost looks even, going just on projections of what the players Vancouver got. That's a hell of a haul for a star player. We're so used to seeing star, soon-to-be UFAs, and the deal comes up and it goes, that's all it cost? That's all they had to give up to get that guy? This was a good old-fashioned 70s, 80s trade, like a lot of pieces moving, and good pieces. I just really think we need to wait and see where he ends up re-signing come the summer of 27 before we can actually declare a winner.
And we don't know what Buium is going to be yet. He's obviously a tremendous collegiate player from the University of Denver. He was an early 2024 draft pick. And the nice thing about him, and with Rossi, these are still very young players who have now arrived. They're not like draft picks or guys who were just drafted. Like, they're NHL players now, and they're still very young. So that's the perfect scenario, I think, for a rebuild situation, which Vancouver seems to be declaring here. So yeah, it really does feel like a lot of the Pierre Dorion deals of the past. You go back to Matt Duchene. He had a year and change left and didn't want to sign here, and so they had to trade him. You think about Jacob Chikrin, same kind of drill. They didn't feel like you were going to sign us, so they had to trade him again. There was a rebalancing effect on that one for sure. And of course, Alex DeBrincat, maybe most famously of all. Everybody's so excited to get him in the moment, but it turned out he wasn't going to sign, so they had to move him on. And it's been happening for a long time with this organization. I saw a lot of people on social media comparing it to the Erik Karlsson thing, right? Because there were some similarities there. Here's an offensive defenseman, the captain of the franchise, and it looks like he's angling to maybe toward heading out in a UFA situation, and then there's the angle of the rebuild. But my immediate thought when I saw the Karlsson comparisons was, wait, that's the captain you're concerned about? How about the other captain that we're talking about in present day, who, like Quinn Hughes, was an early 28 first-round draft pick, is an American captain of a Canadian team, and I think it's a shot across the bow for me mentally that if the Sens, because right now the Sens, we're still not sure what their fate is this year, but if they go in the toilet this year, as the Canucks have kind of, they're second last in the West right now. I mean, I think Brady Tkachuk's future, I think he's wide open to staying, but it's entirely tied to how good a contender the Sens emerge as. Like if they miss the playoffs this year, I think all bets are off, to be honest. But if they go on a nice run and get back to where they were, the standing they had last year, I think everything will be fine. But Brady Tkachuk's, I think, long-term future depends on what the Sens do in these next 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's like does Brady go the Cale Makar playbook like a
Right.
year from now, right? Because it's the idea of acquiring a guy the year before the UFA year, so you're getting 2 playoff runs out of it, right? That's the key.
Wait, what's Cale Makar have to do with anything?
Or sorry, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes.
Okay, good. Just wanted to double check.
Well, they're interchangeable, aren't they?
Sure,
But that's the key, right? Like Quinn Hughes is not a free agent this summer; it's next summer. So Minnesota's going to get the 2 playoff runs out of him. So when you make a trade like this, your price can be a little higher because of that. So when Brady's time comes and it's a year and a half out, that's when you start thinking about it. Not the year before you start thinking about it, because that's when the best offers are coming in. And that's
Right.
when you kind of need to know how Brady's thinking, what Brady's feeling about a year and a half from now. What do we need to do? How do we make sure that Brady's still happy when he's done this contract so that we can sign him early, hopefully? But yeah, you're absolutely right. He could put himself in a position where he can be demanding of management, saying let's get going here, boys. The time's running out, and maybe I'm just going to ride it out and leave if you can't find a way to get the right pieces here now or within the next year, let's say, and make this happen. But you're absolutely right. It's a point of concern for Senator fans 6-8 months from now.
I think with Minnesota, as they bring, I think it's the same scenario that existed in Vancouver. I think this guy's going to be a UFA. He's the second best defenseman in the world. And to forego the open auction of UFA, I mean, Minnesota's got to do something special too this next year, even because if they don't do anything this year and they go into next year and they're not sure. I mean, and Hughes announces, I'm not going to sign with you guys either. Then they'll have to move him rather than lose him for nothing. And in all likelihood, just given the circumstances, maybe if they're in any other division, but literally the best 2 teams in the NHL are in their division. And Minnesota's got a good record, but they're like way back of both Colorado, especially, and then Dallas. So one of those 2 teams, in all likelihood, like I think 100% of hockey fans watching this right now would put their money on either Dallas or Colorado in a 7-game series against the Minnesota Wild, with or without Quinn Hughes.
Yep.
And so if Minnesota's not going to do anything special in the next year and a half, for sure he's going to UFA. So I'm not optimistic that that deal will work out whatsoever for the Wild. You always want to take your shot, but I'm not sure in these circumstances that the Wild are ready to do that.
I think they are. I think they're a better team They got better players than you think. Like Kirill Kaprizov is a very good hockey player.
Oh, yeah.
Without injury last year, I think Kaprizov was well on his way to being in the conversation, if not being the winner of the Hart Trophy last season. The kid had a hell of a start and then got injured. But you got him. You got Matt Boldy. You've got Faber on defense. You've got Wallstead in net like this, and when Wallstead's not there, I think they still got Gustafson too, don't they, Steve? Like that's not a bad team. They are very good, and you bring in Quinn Hughes now. If things gel, they can really go on a run and start to close the gap on the Dallases. Maybe not get as high up as Colorado, but they can certainly give Dallas a run for their money for second place, and then in the playoffs, who knows? I don't think they can. And like if the playoffs are going to start today, they're not beating Colorado. But let's wait and see what they're like. I don't know, a month, 2 months, 3 months from now. Let's see how it all gels together and how they look come playoff time. I think this team is only going to get better, and I think they can give Dallas a run and then take their chances with Colorado when the time comes.
The other trade that was very interesting was the Edmonton Oilers addressing their goaltending. Or have they? I don't know.
Yeah.
Edmonton has acquired Pittsburgh's Tristan Jarry and Sam Poulin for Pittsburgh for Stuart Skinner, Brett Kulak, and a 2029 second rounder. Stuart Skinner takes so many slings and arrows in Edmonton, but he did backstop the team to 2 Western Conference titles in a row. So I wonder how bad can he actually be, whereas Tristan Jarry, I don't know. He hasn't exactly, and who knows with Penguin goaltending? We saw what happened with Matt Murray when he left Pittsburgh and came to Ottawa. He wasn't any good at all. But what say you about this deal? Have the Oilers figured things out in goal, or are they still a question mark?
First of all, how about Pittsburgh goaltending today? Gave up a 5-goal lead and lost to San Jose. But it wasn't Skinner. I don't know. You look at Skinner. I saw a stat of all the goalies who played 15 playoff games in a playoff year over the course of the last 10 years or something. There's like 49 of them, and he is 46th, 47th, and 48th or something in save percentage. Those of the 3 years that he played 15 games amongst all goaltenders. I mean, that's just horrendous. The guy, his save percentage has been terrible. Yes, he backstopped them to wins, but he never ever looked like a star goalie, right? Yes, he was number one, but never looked like a number one. He's never a guy you talk about, in my opinion, as an all-star or a Vezina Trophy candidate or anything like that. He just stopped the puck occasionally and was in their net for some wins where they outscored the opposition. I think what Edmonton needs more than anything is they need a goaltender. They need a goaltender who can steal a game every once in a while. So they need a goaltender who can make some key saves once in a while. And they've been missing that. I mean, they're missing lots of things. Their blue line's atrocious. And is Tristan Jarry the answer? I don't think so. I think you just traded a toilet seat for a yo-yo, up and down on one seat, up and down, up and down. There are 2 guys that are up and down. I don't see anybody winning this deal. If anything, from people I've talked to in Edmonton, Kulak is a huge loss for the Oilers. Apparently, this guy's a rock in the room and a great teammate and not a terrible hockey player either. I think that loss may hurt them more than anything. That's the reason they went out and made the other trade to get the Stasny kid to play defense, because they're gonna miss Kulak. I don't know if this is the deal that's going to turn Edmonton around, but on first glance, I don't think it's even close to something that's going to turn them around or suddenly right the ship there at Edmonton. I don't see it that way.
Maybe we come up with like a less gross analogy than a toilet seat for up and down, like maybe like a garage door, maybe even an adult film star. I don't know. Maybe just something. Moving on. We have a bit of an issue with the Canadian Olympic team in that Connor Bedard, I think from most people's assessment, with the insane start that he's had, I want to say he's got like something like 44 points in 31 games or something like that. He's played his way onto the Olympic team. However, on Friday night against the St. Louis Blues, and it's a shame it happened on such a meaningless play, really. There's like 0.8 seconds left on the clock. The Hawks are down 3-2 to St. Louis. The puck, the face-off is in St. Louis's end, and so obviously Bedard's going to try and do something where the second the puck is dropped, he's going to whack it at the net and pray. That never works. Like it might work 1 in 10,000 times. I don't know, but as it happens, he's up against Braden Shen, and Shen just basically scoops up the stick and then comes in with a
Drive.
cross-check kind of shove to the chest.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what the status is right now of Bedard, but he did not look good. And we've become, with the Josh Norris thing, fairly experts on guys getting hurt off of faceoffs, going right off the ice and kind of hunched over and stuff. It did not look good, did it?
No, and it's the standard Braden Shen, the lift and drive. Like, I'm going to lift his stick and I'm going to drive right through him. That's the defensive play in that scenario for a faceoff. That's what any guy, 99% of the NHL centermen, that's what they're going to do on that draw for that play. And you nailed it. Bedard's just trying to shoot the puck at the net and hope for the best. Okay, should he have been on the ice? Should he be on the ice? Yeah, you got to have him out there, because if anybody's going to score in that play, it's going to be him. So it's got to be him. What could he have been better prepared or understanding what Shen was going to do and move his body differently? I don't know, but it just sucks. And it's now delayed us from doing our Team Canada prediction show, because we need to wait and see what happens with Bedard first before we do that show. But yeah, this sucks if it's long term, because he might have been on my team, and I have a feeling he was definitely on your team.
Yeah, I think so. I think when it comes down to it, the struggle is going to be the fringe guys. Do you load up your fourth line with just another first line, basically, with star guys with all skill?
Yeah.
Or do you put in guys who are just elite penalty killers? Because you're going to need that, obviously. If the reffing goes against you, or you're undisciplined and you end up having to kill penalties, you don't want guys who are just good on the penalty kill. You want guys who are great. And to me, that will be the tiebreaker for me for the fringe guys.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody there's going to be a pile of guys who don't make the team that are excellent hockey players. Chances are they will be lacking something defensively, and they'll go with guys who can play that role. The Travis Konechny's, for example, or the Sorellis, guys who played at the Four Nations. And I think for that reason, they were on that team and maybe again at the Olympics. But Bedard, based on the start he's had, I think he's elevated beyond that, where I'm not sort of looking at him as that interchangeable guy. I think that obviously scoring is going to be a huge thing, because defense, well, you've got the best defense as well, along with the best offense. And this is a guy that just can manufacture something out of nothing. It's like, there's a, but I don't know, 1-on-2 situation, toe drag score. Oh, well, that's fantastic. That's an asset that I want on my team. And it is disappointing if it comes to that, but we'll see. We don't know exactly what his status is in the NHL. It takes, 2 or 3 days of examinations. You'd think with the NHL and their doctors and the money they have, that he'd be diagnosed by the time, he got to the dressing room after the injury.
Well, the thing that would suck here is if he doesn't make the team because of injury, we'll always be left wondering, was he going to be on the team? If he was healthy, would he have made the team? He and Celebrini and Schaefer are the three young guns putting up points and playing the minutes and doing the things that are required to play on such a team. But how much is their age going to play against them? And if Bedard's injured, then we'll never know, right? We'll never, ever know if he was going to make it or not.
How many books are on the Wonder Wall, just out of curiosity?
Well, I have about 2,500 in all, Steve. So, yeah.
2,500 hockey books, all hockey books.
Well, that's the golf books are over there. This is the hockey book section.
Nice. All right.
Anybody has any used ones that they want to get rid of, let me know. If because you might have something that I don't have. If you're looking to sell a book, shoot us a message. And where can they do that, Steve?
You can do that. Our email address is sensnationhockey. Wait, no. sensnationpodcast@outlook.com. The website is Sens Nation Hockey. I could have made this clearer, I think. sensnationhockey.com is our website. thn.com/Ottawa. That is the Hockey News' Ottawa Senators site. I'm the site editor there, writing my face off about your Ottawa Senators. And thanks to all our great sponsors. Thanks to CJRO Radio for carrying the show, as always. And yeah, I think you're probably going to end up, if anybody does have a book for you, unless you've got a list you can share with them, you're going to get a double. You're going to get a double, like I always used to get with my hockey cards back in the day.
Got him.
Oh, I got that guy.
Yeah. You never know.
The store.
Somebody might have a book I don't have. You never know.
All right. Let's call it quits right there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks, Greg.
See you, buddy. Have a good night.